Welcome to the Rational Egoist. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, and today we're going to talk about why relationships fail. And our guest that's here to talk to us about this topic is a trauma psychotherapist with specialization in trauma studies from the Institute of Contemporary Psychotherapies and in human sexuality from NYU School of Medicine. Antonieta Contreras, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So I read an article that you wrote that I found very interesting. And you said that traumatized individuals have a tendency to place high expectations on their partners. What do you mean by that?
Mostly, I was referring to the trauma that happens, the trauma of abuse and neglect, maybe early in life, when the needs are not met by whomever needed to be there for you. Your needs are going to be unmet for many, many years. And people will be looking for someone, from a teacher or from a mentor or from a partner, to meet those needs. It's kind of the eternal search for being seen, being heard, being valued by someone else.
Now, you talk about how people in relationships tend to put their partners above themselves, and that's due to the idea that they shouldn't be selfish. Why is it, do you think, that selfishness has such a bad rap, that people are so hesitant to do what's best for themselves?
Yeah, this is a very interesting issue because like, I love language, probably because I have to use one that is not mine, but even my own language, and I lived in different places and I travel a lot. And I have realized that sometimes we don't have a word to, like, translate something that in other countries is common. And in few countries just don't have the word, right? Well, selfish is one of those words. We don't have any word for selfish that is not negative, that doesn't have a negative connotation, right? Like, well, selfless, but selfless is kind of the extreme. It's not only like a positive selfishness, like a virtuous selfishness. There is no word to use, right? So why? Because we were not taught to have a healthy relationship with taking care of ourselves. And I mentioned in the article religions. I was raised Catholic, but I became a Buddhist, and I was very interested in religions, and I have tried to understand several. And I'm a Buddhist practitioner, but moved into Tantra because the sutras were too sacrificing, too too about, like, not having the capacity to enjoy anything, right? And in many religions, I noticed that the idea of taking care of yourself, or the idea of, like, having serving your needs, basically, that's almost foreign thought, right? Your needs have to be met by someone else, probably because of the nature of humans, right? Like, we are so fragile, like, so dependent. When we are born, we need somebody. That idea that somebody has to meet our needs is always there. But then we grow older and we still need somebody to meet our needs and to give us what we need. And I was raised in a culture, I don't know here because I haven't been married here, but like in Mexico, where I was born and grew up, you'd never buy a piece of jewelry for yourself, right? Like, you don't buy, like, a car for you. If you are in a relationship, you wait for the guy to buy it for you, or you wait, right? Like, and in terms of affection and things like that, we are always expecting or thinking that in the amount or in the proportion of that we make others happy, they will make us happy. or even if it's not the same person, if it's like, if you are virtuous, you try to help people, you try to make them their lives better, you try to make them happier, and then you will get a reward somehow, out of the divine power or something. Then you will be happy, right? So like happiness will come to you. But this idea of providing for myself is selfish, and then is not popular or well seen, or right.
In then I think it was, yeah, in the mid-90s, mid to late 90s, there was a movie called Jerry Maguire. And there's a famous scene in the movie where he tells his love interest that she completes him. And he, that's a tearjerker, and everybody claps, and everyone's happy, and that seems like such a great thing. And many people look for a partner to do just that, to complete them or to make them happy.
Mhm.
In your view, why is it a mistake to look to find your happiness or to find somebody else to create your happiness for you?
Well, you are using the perfect phrase, right? You complete me kind of implies that you are not complete, right? And I use is Plato, the one that said that we were complete, and then the gods, uh,
I believe so, yes.
right, divided us, and then we spend our lives. They were trying to explain love, right? So we are always trying to find our other half, and younger people, actually, my daughter at some point said, Mom, that idea is stupid. she was, I want to be whole before I find somebody. I don't want anybody to complete me, right? Maybe because she was a fan of Jerry Maguire, and then it made her think. And I developed a whole model on, and I explained to my clients, how do you get into a relationship? How complete are you in order to be successful in your relationship? Or are you looking for somebody that completes you, right? Or the other is looking for somebody that completes them. And that I developed a whole idea of the 100 doesn't make, I mean, I'm a mathematician, so it doesn't make a 200. So I put 100 plus plus plus, because the addition is bigger than the sum of the parts, as that's the idea, right? If you are as whole as possible when you get into a relationship, the relationship is amazing, because you don't need the other person. You only share the best of you, and you build on the attributes or qualities that relationships bring. Because of course
Sure.
relationships are very like enriching, right? We grow the most in relationships, but not out of deficiencies, not out of what we are lacking. It should be out of what we contribute and what we want to work on, flourish or blossom it, or
So basically, and tell me if I'm wrong, if two partners already feel whole, or they already feel as if they're enough, they don't have this sense that they're just not enough and they need somebody to give them value. They already recognize their own value. If both parties feel that way, they're in a position now where they're secure, so they're not seeking to get things from the other person, to control the other person, just to exchange value, to give their value to their partner and to get value from their partner in return. And you can have far more harmony that way than when you're acting out your childhood traumas and trying to either sacrifice or get sacrifices from your partner. Would that be accurate?
absolutely, absolutely, because you are starting from a place of satisfaction, not from a place of dissatisfaction or neediness or lack of, right? Like yeah, and you can start like a relationship from a place of lack, yes, of course, because it takes time for us to feel fulfilled. But the idea that the other is the one that is gonna give you what you need, what you're lacking, that's the mistake. We obviously help the other grow, but through the relationship, not through absorbing or expecting to receive, but by sharing, and by like experiencing life together, right? We are always in the grow. That's the idea, that we grow, and we grow the most in relationships, but by understanding our needs and just having the other be with us in that search, be with us instead of being the provider, right?
I saw a meme the other day, and it was about a woman, and the woman said she had now been married for, I don't know, maybe a decade and a half or whatever. It doesn't matter, but she raised their children, and the captioning said that the woman, or rather, no, it wasn't a captioning. It was a video. I'm sorry, I get these things mixed up, but it was a video of a woman explaining that she had sacrificed everything for her children, for her husband, and now that the years have gone by, she had nothing left of herself.
Mhm.
Everything was just what she had sacrificed. And it's common in my experience that people who do that sacrifice their own needs for other people, and it's not just a one-time thing. This becomes a habit where it's done over and over and over again. And each small sacrifice, it may not seem like much, but when you're constantly doing the giving and somebody else is doing the taking, it tends to breed resentment.
Mm.
Why is that? Well, first of all, why do people think that that's going to bring them happiness? I guess it probably ties back to your original, the first question I asked you, when how people they now I lost my train of thought. Oh, because they think that by being self-sacrificial, they're going to ultimately gain a reward. But living that way, how does it start in a relationship? I guess is a better question. And why does it tend to breed resentment? What are the signs to look for that you're doing this?
Well, it starts probably with your mother, right? Or your father, or both. Because even the word, I am almost like against the use of the word sacrifice uh, to start with. If you think that what you are doing is a sacrifice, you shouldn't do it. Period. Right? You either do things for conviction, out of like really wanting to do it. Let me take a little detour in something I learned um, about this thing. Oh, I lost it. Let me see. Um, the sacrifice. Okay, I'm going to continue. It'll come back. So if we, the dutifulness, the definition, the religion, the idea that you have to do something in order to find the reward in the future, it's already costing you something, right? You are already like a feeling, you are depriving almost willingly, which is never willingly. It's an idea that is depriving because you are going to have to follow the rules of either being the dutiful partner or the dutiful mother, father, whatever, instead of understanding that it's the phase of your life that you are going to live fully and plenty. So if you decide it, instead of somebody deciding for you, which these generations, the younger generations, are the ones that really deciding for themselves. Even me, or like I was a progressive mother, but my life was decided for me. I didn't think that I had choices. My ex-husband has a German family, and we were visiting them in Germany, and the cousin's wife, they were married, and she said, no, I don't think I will have babies because I like studying and I'm in my second PhD. And I said, what? Like, that's not possible. What are you talking about? You cannot decide not to have children, right? Like 20 years ago or something. And we have been moving into understanding that there are other choices and there are other reasons. But when you didn't have a choice, when you had to marry and then have kids, and if you don't do it, you will be judged, criticized, even penalized for it, right? Ostracized even. Then, then, then there is a cost if the person is not completely convinced of what they are doing, right? Having kids too early. Well, why did you have kids early? Oh, because I'm a woman and I had to have babies, right? Because the clock. Oh, I wanted to do this, but I couldn't because I had to have babies. Then it sounds like a sacrifice. But even if that's the case, you have to, before you do what you have, you act on your ideals or values. You have to question yourself if they are yours, or if they're only like passed on. I say it in the vein where you are little, and you have believed that they are yours, but they aren't, right? So you question whether they are yours, and if they are yours, okay, so I'll go ahead, and there is no sacrifice because you are making a decision. But if you only do it out of rota, out of like, this is what it is next, then you will develop some resentment or some dissatisfaction because you were not completely.
Sure. It's only logical to me that if I'm giving up something and not getting what I'm expecting in return, which is what a sacrifice is, I'm giving up and not getting. Eventually, as a human being, that's going to wear on me. I want more. I want to be fulfilled also. And I know you're a trauma therapist. I'm just curious, as when you say trauma, do you necessarily mean it has to be some big traumatic event in life? What exactly do you mean by trauma before I get into my next question?
Perfect. Well, thank you for the question, because I wrote a book that is called Traumatization and Its Aftermath. And at the beginning of the book, I make a lot of emphasis on not calling everything that happens in life trauma, because then everybody's traumatized and then
Sure.
it loses value. And then who cares, right? Like trauma is a big, big issue because it is connected to our survival instincts and our survival mechanisms. So if the brain anticipates and assumes threat or danger, is going to start operating differently. And if you continue feeling under threat, the body, the traumatization period can go forever, can go for like really 30 years or 40 years. So for instance, the woman you explained in the video, she was feeling defeated, right? Not only resentful, she was feeling depleted. We have nothing for her because she gave it all away, right?
Yes.
That's a mentality that makes the brain believe that that person is lost, that has no hope of happiness, has no hope of engagement, has no hope of satisfaction. And then the brain keeps operating in this, well, let's try to keep her alive, even at the cost of engagement with life, right? So it's a survival mode means I'm operating, but I'm not engaging. I'm not enjoying. I don't have pleasure. I don't have, like, that's a traumatized system, right? And that doesn't come necessarily from a high risk, but in her mind, she's making her life of sacrifice about almost being in danger or threatened by not having happiness. Maybe that's an extreme. Maybe she's not. Um, I'm sure there were things that she made her brain believe that she was under threat, because that's what happens. Trauma is subjective, is always connected to survival, and it should be resolved as soon as we find safety in the world. If we have the mentality of the sacrifice, we may be dependent on marriage to feel safe. If I get divorced, my life may be over, and therefore, like the idea of breaking the marriage is life threatening. And people like, oh, having an affair, oh my God, my life is done, right? Because of that understanding that all the happiness depend on being with that person, with those kids, within that family.
You mentioned when just now, one of the partners in a relationship has an affair.
Mhm.
In my experience, it's very rare in a relationship, whether it be abusive or anything else, that one party is entirely to blame and the other party has just been perfect, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's not to put the blame on the victim of abuse or a victim of somebody, cheating, but it does, these things just don't arise out of nowhere. And if a person is in a relationship and they're looking to get things out of that relationship, and the other party just takes, or they're just sacrificing and not getting what they want out of that relationship, or maybe they're being, not being treated kindly, there it's, I don't want to say reasonable, it's understandable that they would go somewhere else to try to get that. Is that, I mean, that seems correct to me. And again, it's not to excuse the behavior. Ultimately, I would say that they should just be honest with the partner. But sometimes maybe they feel they can't, whatever. And again, not to excuse it, but it's understandable that that happens.
That's a loaded topic, right? And maybe I won't be that popular if I really open my mind. I think there are another 100 reasons to have affairs. Not only like it's not necessarily because the needs are not met or because the partner is failing. No, I don't think that's all the time right. Maybe the control could be if you feel trapped.
Hold on, what?
Right?
Let me just clarify. I'm not saying that every time someone cheats, it's because the partner did these stuff. I'm saying that there are occasions when a partner, that this is the dynamic that leads a person to cheat. That it does sometimes happen, and when it does, it makes a kind of sense.
Well, I'm saying that that's one of the reasons, that's
Yeah.
one of the possibilities, but there are so many others. And going to your point, like if somebody is controlling because their happiness depends on the partner, and they, by controlling, by where are you, where you smell like weird, like whatever, is the way to guarantee that they are going to be safe, right? Well, the other person doesn't feel safe maybe and wants to find some space because is their needs are not being met, not the sexual ones, but the do you see me, do you trust me? I think there is nothing worse than not trusting a loyal partner. That right, if somebody tries really hard in being a good partner and the other person doesn't validate the effort, well, the person then gives up trying, right? The sacrifice. Oh, I was sacrificing, and you don't take you don't give me any credit for it. Then I won't sacrifice, and then I will be selfish, right? That is kind of the game that we play, because of those are the concepts. But I'm saying that I won't be, because I don't think we should own our partner's bodies. I think this is very sad that we think that because we sign a paper, we own their soul sometimes, right? The same way that I say, in order to be happy, you need to let them grow in the way they need to grow, right? But maybe the sexual component is part of that growth. Doesn't mean, oh, now you have free pass to do whatever you want sexually. But if, right, but if it is in the name of growth, sometimes need people may need to understand themselves better, and that's not cheating. Maybe, I say it's not general. Okay, we can't generalize because every couple is different and every person is different. There are many reasons why people cheat, and not necessarily because the other is not doing their job. Maybe, yeah, I don't know, like the monotheistic religions created that the monogamy
Yeah,
so strong, right? It's not universal. Many other cultures have not been monogamous,
for sure.
right?
Yeah. So I know that you suggest or recommend to your clients that they cultivate their own happiness, and that's a great principle. But the question I have is, a lot of this stuff is so deeply rooted in childhood. My interactions with my parents. I grew up with from neglect and fears of abandonment. And then I tried to control people when I was younger. It wasn't like I just made a decision and said, "Oh, I'm gonna have a girlfriend now. Let me see if I can control her every move." It just was the patterns and the way that my mind was. That's the way it operated. Still within my choices. I just mean it wasn't just a matter of saying, "Oh, well, let me not do this." So when speaking of relationships failing because of self-sacrifice or not communicating or whatever, and a lot of this stuff is rooted in trauma, how do you suggest that people cultivate that happiness within themselves so that they can go on to have fulfilling, mature relationships?
Right. So even at the end of the article, I actually mentioned that when a couple starts to have issues, they run to couples therapy, right? And they want a mediator that helps them communicate better and things like that. But I don't think that's the solution if you haven't done your own personal work, right? So it's not who is the one to blame. Is that you need to continue developing a confidence in yourself before you can really give the other person the sense of safety that the other person needs. If you don't know how to communicate with yourself, well, you can communicate with the other person what you are feeling, what you are not feeling. Like I have several clients that don't feel a thing, right? Like, and then they go to couples therapy. Well, feel something. What are you? I don't feel anything.
Mhm.
Well, you need to find out why are they feeling? Are they dissociated? Are they compartmentalizing? How much awareness they have of what they are doing? And you don't do that in couples therapy. You have to do it in your personal growth. So it's not only like working on your happiness, it's working on your growth and your fulfillment. I don't use the word happiness actually, because happiness is temporary and it's always like but disappears. And once I get there, oh, that's not happiness actually, right? Also something else, something else, something else. So satisfaction, fulfillment, confidence, peace of mind, those are probably the goals that people need to have: confidence in themselves, confidence in the world, like acceptance of what they can and can't not do. So yes, developing confidence in yourself, in what you can do, cannot do, what you can like dream of having, or what you cannot, right? Being realistic, being objective, also knowing what gives you peace of mind, what makes you feel stable and comfortable in whatever you need, like agreements in relationship disagreements in personal growth is actual limitations, because it's wonderful to be ambitious, but you have to be objectively ambitious. Otherwise, if your expectations grow beyond what you can really achieve, then you suffer disappointments and anger, resentment, frustration, all that stuff, right? So finding a balance has to do I try to make a point in the article about satisfaction. Satisfaction is something that people don't talk about much, as an element of like a goal in life, to find satisfaction, which is a combination of acceptance and enjoyment, right? It's not resignation. It's not, oh, well, I can't. No, no, no. No, it's like I have it and I enjoy it. And because I enjoy it and I feel satisfied, I'm in a place that actually growth happens. And then you can achieve more because you are coming from a place of having instead of lacking.
How common is it, even if everything is done right, even if people are whole and they're satisfied and they enter into a relationship, how common is it for people to just fall out of love? I mean, decades go by sometimes, and maybe they just don't feel the same way. And so, how common is that one? And what should they do about it? If that happens, should people stay in relationships because they're married, even if they don't love the person any longer? Should they feel guilty about their feelings?
Wow, that's a question. Oops.
Oh, well, an explosive question.
Yeah. Falling out of love versus falling in love. So I'm actually posting this week an article about falling in love and what it means neurobiologically, because falling in love is similar to what the system experiences when it gets threatened, like how trauma starts happening. Similar mechanisms of feeling so excited, but so full of doubts, so full, so I want this forever, and I'm going to work super hard to have it forever. It has to be mine. And the cocktail of neurotransmitters or hormones that we produce make us change our perception of reality. So the other person is absolutely gorgeous, is perfect, is wonderful, the best, like, oh my God, I'm the luckiest person on earth, right? But all the chemicals start going into the right balance or the right place. And then we say, oh, I thought you were X, Y, or Z, and you're not, right? And then the expectations, right? Oh, I thought you were going to make me happy, and you are not making me happy because you are not giving me this or this and that. And then has to do with expectations. Like falling out of love is like being disappointed because your expectations went so high that now I feel terrible and I don't want you. Actually, you're taking the place of somebody that could be making me happy, right? So now I hate you. So I'm trapped without the key to the door. So what happens if that? Well, you do some investigation about your expectations, about what makes you feel satisfied. If it's not enough, what you have, what would be enough? And then if you have objective expectations, then you could decide whether you should stay or not stay, right? Because yes, it's not a what is for life when the judge gives you a
Contract?
no, like you are done for life, right?
Oh,
No,
life sentence.
life sentence, right?
Yeah.
It's not a life sentence, right? But for the right reasons, and the right reasons are only gonna come up to you if you do work internally. Otherwise, you can go just from one wife to another, or one husband to another, or one partner to another, because you don't know what you want. You just want somebody to make you happy, and happiness is not coming. So that I don't call it egoist. I call it unaware, or staying in the surface, disconnected from the real needs that they have, right? Because the other person may be providing what you need, but if you are dissatisfied and your expectations are too high, you won't feel satisfied. You won't feel that the other person is doing its part.
And is it something to feel guilty about, though, when that happens, when you fall out of love? Should you feel like you've done something wrong, or is it a normal occurrence that happens to a lot of people?
Well, guilt is a very interesting emotion. So let me give you a little bit of a commercial. It's not a commercial, but a parenthesis on emotions. I am of the idea that emotions are there to serve us. They are part of the design to protect us and to help us live life, right? We are adaptive creatures that we need to learn and we need to adapt in order to survive. So the emotions are the ones that says, hey, be careful with that. Oh, take this one. Oh, don't go there. Things like that. They are small messages that they come and go very easily. But then humans have developed an emotional system. It's very rare that you hear the concept of emotional system. We have a digestive system, we have whatever system. People don't talk about emotional system because the emotional system includes the mind, and the mind cannot be tested in the lab, right? So emotions like guilt follow a social script that becomes very powerful. For me, guilt only comes to say, oh, be careful not to hurt people. Maybe you hurt someone, try to repair the hurt. That's what guilt is telling you. If you can repair, go for it. If you can't, well, then, like, if there is no problem, if there is no solution, there is no problem. If there is no possibility of repair, well, then there is no guilt, because, like, move on, right? Well, yeah, like, try to not, or only carry a little bit of it to remind you that sometime in the past you hurt someone and you don't want to hurt them again, right? But then it's very similar to shame, and shame is even more powerful, because shame makes us hide not only from society but from ourselves. Narcissists, for example, are people that are hiding from the awareness of themselves. They have so much shame that they don't want to face themselves, and that's why they never change, for example, right? So shame is worse than guilt. So those emotions should be, again, it's not that I am a therapist, but I believe in this. If you work on the shame and the guilt, you don't have to carry it. You resolve it, it takes its place, and then you can continue growing in life. Those emotions, when become so powerful, they actually drain your energy, your confidence, your capacity to see things clearly. So it stops the growth, right? Keeps you in a terrible place. Well, personality disorders keeps you stuck in a place of no end and failure and rejection and, like, horrible things that shouldn't happen if you work on resolving them.
Okay. Do you think that we've covered everything? Is there something else you'd like to tell us about why relationships fail before I let you go?
Okay, so I said expectations and satisfaction, right?
Yes.
So we don't have a word to mention, like, a virtue selfishness. Like, do I have the right to take care of myself? And then how much is okay, right? In order not to become too, like, I know couples that are roomies because they take care of themselves in such a way that they are not connected. They are so completely into their own, right? And the idea of a relationship is that you create a molecule, you create something bigger than the sum of the parts, right? So in order to do that, you have to understand that there is a balance. You need to take care of yourself. You need to learn how to take in what the other person gives you. That's also very important. Sometimes we don't have the capacity to assimilate and really, take in what the others give us. And then the dissatisfied person is a person that is never enough because has no capacity to take it in, right? And not only from from the partner, sometimes they don't have the connection with happiness or joy or the positive feelings. So if you don't have the connection with joy, you are not going to get joy from what they give you, regardless of what they give you, right? So it's not the other person, it's your capacity to experience positive stuff and being grateful for and assimilate and embody them and make them yours, right? So that is one in terms of the expectations of the other. The other one is also the selfishness of how much is enough. So you have to have the capacity to take in. You have the capacity, you have to understand the capacity that there is always give and take, right? No sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice that is an agreement and a conviction that, okay, so today you decide, tomorrow I decide. And you know what? It was my turn, but really, really want to do this today. Will you give me that? Could we agree? Can I actually entice you to motivate you to choose the same thing that I want instead of to impose it, right? Oh, yes, it sounds like fun. Okay, yes, you convinced me, right? And then we go together. So it's give and take. We need always to find the balance. The universe is always trying to find equilibrium. And a relationship, in order to succeed, needs to find a balance of two very fulfilled people that want to share and make a very fulfilling relationship, right?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. Where can people find you? Like I found you on Psychology Today. Where can people find you and find your book?
Well, AntonietaContreras.com, easy. And my book is called Traumatization and Its Aftermath, in any bookstore everywhere, actually, in the world. And what else? Well, social media, my name, easy.
Excellent. Thank you so much again.
So much for having me.
For now, this is the Rational Egoist signing out. I'm Michael Liebowitz. Till next time.